sometimes lower planets, sometimes on this earth planet. And if they get the mercy of Krishna, actually, first by the mercy of Krishna, they can come to Guru. And then by the mercy of Guru, they get the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of pure devotional service, Braj Bhav especially. Actually, everything is there in the heart, but it is dormant. But then the spiritual master is giving the conceptions. So Sripad Madhavendra Puripad, he was the first person inspired by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, inspired by Krishna, to give this Braj Bhav, Braj Bhakti, and especially also Vipralamba Bhav, Viraha Bhav, feeling separation from the Lord. And he was crying in separation from the Lord many times. As we know, when he came here to Braj, he was doing actually Ayashchit Vrat. So different kinds of sannyasis are there. He was known as Yati, as a sannyasi. He was a sannyasi in the renounced order of life. And so the sannyasis are completely dependent on Krishna. Or just like the Babajis, there are many Babajis in Braj since long time, since Mahaprabhu's time also. They're simply chanting the holy names and trying to be absorbed in serving Krishna. So they may sometimes beg for some food. They do madhukari. Just like the madhukari, the bee, going from one flower to another flower to take some nectar. So the Babajis, they're going from one house to another house to get a little something, to beg some alms. But usually they also only go to the persons who are devoted to the Supreme Lord, not to any ordinary person. So because they know that if they're going to an ordinary person and they have the material consciousness, then they will be affected. So they only go to the Vaishnavas' homes. So but Madhavendra Puri was doing a special vrat. He was not asking anybody, he was not begging from anybody for food. But he was simply chanting the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Completely depending on Krishna. Knowing that Krishna will give whatever I need. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ananya Shintantamam Yajana Pariyapasate Tesham Nityabhayuktanam Yobaga Kshemam Vaham Yaham. To those who are constantly devoted to me, to them, I preserve what they have and give what they lack. So ordinary devotees, they think, yes, by worshipping Krishna, I get a nice house. If I want to get married, I get a nice wife. I get a car and this and that. But actually, we should not desire any of these things. But we should simply desire to serve Krishna. And we should simply desire to be able to come to the highest level of pure devotional service. So even in this way, Krishna will supply everything. Knowledge by which we can come to Him. So he was not asking for anything. He was simply chanting the holy names. Sometimes in great transcendental bliss, sometimes feeling separation. So, but in Braj, Krishna himself is saying, and Srimati Radharani also, in my village, nobody is starving. So Krishna, he's a cowboy, but he came in such a way that Madhavendra Puri could not disguise him. So most probably he was hiding his peacock feather, and maybe he was not so much blackish but little more lighter color, so he could not recognize him. And so he came to Madhavendra Puri and he told him that the village ladies here, they saw you doing bhajan here, and so my mother was there also, and she told me to give you some milk, so you may take some milk. And then he was so much astonished seeing this very beautiful boy. He was overwhelmed, such a beautiful boy, because Krishna is most beautiful and he cannot hide himself. So but still he could not recognize him, and and he gave him the milk, and Madhavendra Puri started drinking the milk, and then he became overwhelmed by ecstatic emotions. And he fell on the floor, murchit, and he became unconscious for a little while. And then he realized that that boy was none other than Krishna. And then, so then also what he did, So then he was lamenting for some time. Old Krishna came, I could not recognize him. So, but he kept the pot and he broke it in a few pieces and he kept in his chadar, in his uttariya, and then every day he was eating a little bit of that as a prasad of the Lord also, because Krishna himself gave this pot. And then later on, so he was doing bhajan, and then one deity appeared in his dream, night time, and he was saying, and he recognized that was the same boy who came to see me, Gopal. Krishna, who is known as Gopal, is taking care of the cows. Gopal means the caretaker of the cows and the calves, but also he who is taking care of his devotees, of all the senses of the devotees. So he told him in a dream that I have been here in the bushes of Vrindavan, because one time the Muslims came and then the pujari, he was hiding me, being afraid of the Muslims, because the Muslims, they were going to the temples and breaking the deities. So at that time, so I'm there, and please you rescue me and please worship me. So he went there with the Brijbasis, and then he took the deity of Gopal. And then he was, because Gopal was there since quite some time, so he felt I should do a nice abhishek. And then, so he was doing abhishek with the help of the Brijbasis. There was actually a Govardhan. And then also, the place is there actually next to Govindakund, also where he appeared first to Gopal. First Krishna appeared to Madhavendra Puri, and nearby also. So the deity was there, and then he established the deity on the rocks of Govardhan, and he made the kind of almost temple with the stones, and then he was worshipping. A nice abhishek was there, as it is done on the festival days. Like yesterday was Nrsimha Chaturdasi, so we were bathing the deities with Panchamrita and usually also Panchagavya, with yogurt, with milk, yogurt, ghee, honey and sugar water. That is Panchamrita. And Panchagavya, 5 items of the cow: milk, yogurt, ghee, a little cow urine and a little cow dung. So he was bathing the deity with that. And then he was asking the villagers also to offer some bhoga. So of course he had told them before, and they were bringing so many items. Some rice and sabji, chapati, parathas, puris, sweet rice, malpua, so many traditional items. And it was just like a Krishna's time. Anakut ceremony was performed for Giriraj, for Krishna who appeared, and he's not different from Giriraj, and he assumed the big form, and then Krishna himself, he told the Brijbasis to worship Giriraj, and then Anakut Mahotsav was there. So in the same way he performed Anakut Mahotsav for Gopal, but not only for one day. On the first day they did a big festival, but then other villagers, they heard about this Gopal. Sisi Gonita Krishna Bhavam Radha Shama Sundar Ki. So then they thought, we want to also participate. They also came forward. And then he told them, all right, tomorrow we'll again have our Anakut Utsav. And again they were also, then the next day they had a big festival offering a big amount of bhoga to Gopal. For many days they were doing that. So since Madhavendra Puri was a sannyasi, then after some time he felt he was, actually what he was doing, he was taking care of the seva from morning till evening. And after putting the deities to rest, he was eating something little. Not eating the whole day. But then he was accepting a little prasad which the devotees were giving him. But he was feeling, I'm a sannyasi, so I should simply do bhajan, and then so I should get somebody to take care of the deities. So he got 2 very nice brahmanas, actually from the Pushti Marg, related to Vallabhacharya, also great devotees, and he told them to worship Gopal, which they did. And still it is actually because from that time on, the devotees of Vallabhacharya, they're worshipping, still up to this day, they're worshipping Gopal. And that Gopal deity is actually now in Sri Natwar, in Rajasthan, and they're worshipping very nicely. in the city known as Natwar, and now the deity is known as Srinathji, very famous deity, and very opulent worship is there, and he's the center of the village there. Everyone is worshipping Srinathji there. Even they have a well there, and the pilgrims used to come there and they put ghee inside there for the seva of Srinathji. And they're very wonderful offerings there. And every day they're offering one new dress to Gopalji. So very nice worship. So Gopal also in a dream, later on after some time he came to Madhavendra Puri in the dream again and told him it was summertime. And then he said, please bring some chandan from Puri. And that we heard on Akshaya Tritiya day. Janard Maharaj was giving class, right, on that day? Vaishnav Maharaj, Vaishnav Maharaj, yes. Vaishnav Maharaj was giving class and he was mentioning also about the pastime there, of how they were bringing. So this chandan. So we will not speak again about that. So Madhavendra Puri, he's an eternal associate of Mahaprabhu in Gaur Leela, and is an eternal associate of Krishna in Braj. And there he has a very wonderful form. And there is actually a Kalpa Vriksha tree. Is a tree there. And so he can fulfill all desires. And it is mentioned in Krishna Gauranadesh Deepika, where all the associates are explained of who the associates are of Krishna, all their names, and so there it is explained also, and in the Gaur Gauranadesh Deepika, telling who the associates of Mahaprabhu are in Krishna Leela, it is explained that Madhavendra Puri is a Kalpa Vriksha tree, and so he can fulfill all desires. And it is mentioned that he has five kinds of fruits are there on this tree. And what are these fruits? The fruit of Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, and Vatsalyaras and Madhuryaras. So the different kinds of relationship which we may have with Krishna in the spiritual world, like neutral relationship, or as servant, or as friend, or having parental affection, or even conjugal affection. So he's a tree, but he has all the bhavs. As a tree, he is neutral. The trees are, as we can see, they may not directly do seva. It seems to be, but therefore it is explained that actually, sometimes it is explained these 5 rasas are there, but sometimes only 4 are mentioned. Because in Braj, everyone is serving, even the trees are serving. They have emotions. So he wants to serve Krishna, and he's serving Krishna, giving some fruits, giving some shade. And he has a very friendly relationship with Krishna, Sakyaras. And also, he has Vatsalya Bhav. So parental affection, even the Gopi Bhav is there in Madhavendra Puri, as a tree also. Just like when Krishna is there in Nikunja Leela. So the trees are there, the creepers are there, and they're seeing what's happening. So they have these also same feelings, they may be there, just like Srimati Radharani, the gopis have. Madhurya Bhav. So he can give all these bhavs. So therefore on this day we pray to him that we may become a pure devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and a pure devotee of Sri Radha Krishna, and that we may enter in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna. But for that we have to do nice bhajan, like not like Madhavendra Puri, that is not possible. He was chanting whole day and he was hardly eating anything, as we know, sometimes not eating. But we should follow in his mood and try to chant as much as possible. As Prabhupada used to say, at least 16 rounds. But in one place there's one book, it is mentioned that about chanting the holy names, and then Prabhupada said, why only 16 rounds? You should chant 16,000 rounds. So many rounds you may chant, but at least 16, but some special days, Ekadashi, like Purnima, Amavasya, we may chant a little more. So then pray for the mercy of the Lord. And then when we have some ruchi, nam ruchi, then we can advance nicely. and then Krishna will reciprocate, and then we may have darshan of Krishna while chanting the holy names to some extent. And then Krishna will disappear, and then comes the Viraha Bhav, Vipralamba Bhav, crying. And Mahavendra Puri, many times he was chanting, and then he was seeing Krishna, and then Krishna disappeared, and then he was crying and chanting. And also at the end of his life, it is mentioned that he was feeling so much separation from Krishna, and of course from Radharani also, and then he was reciting one verse. Ai dina dayadra nata hai matura nata kavalroksha se hridyam tadaloka kataram daitya brahmyati kim karoti aham. He was saying, Ai dina dayadra, oh my dear compassionate Lord, Nata, who is very compassionate to the deen and heen, the fallen and destitute devotees, who are very meek and humble. And when shall I see you again? Without seeing you, my heart has become very much afflicted. What shall I do now? Kim karoti aham? Kim karomi aham? What shall I do? So he was feeling separation, he was crying. Krishna, where are you? And that is actually in the mood of Srimati Radharani when Krishna went to Mathura. So then she was crying in separation from Krishna. So in the same mood he actually came, and so he was reciting this verse, and so in this way he was giving this Vipralamba Bhav, which then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was experiencing in the Gambhira in Jagannath Puri, to teach us. And the six Goswamis also, they were chanting the holy names in transcendental ecstasy, but at other times the Vipralamba Bhav was there, feeling separation, crying for Krishna. Krishna, where are you? And that is necessary, we have to cry to Krishna. So Prabhupada has explained also, while chanting the holy names, you should cry to Krishna. It is a cry to Krishna. Srimati Radharani, please engage me in your seva. And Prabhupada used to say, if you cannot cry while chanting, then you should cry so that you may be able to cry. Or you pray that you may be able to cry, feeling some separation or feeling transcendental bliss. He had two disciples present there. Of course, there were more disciples he had, but two were there when he was just about to leave his body. One was Ramachandra Puri, and he had some Mayavad tendencies, and he was thinking we should be absorbed in the absolute Brahman. So then he was so audacious that he actually criticized his guru, and he was saying, why are you crying? You should be absorbed in the Brahman. So then he was very distressed that this fool is trying to instruct me. I'm feeling separation, he's disturbing me. And then so he told me, you go away from here. And then, but Madhavendra Puri was there, and he was consoling, his disciple was there, Ishwara Puri, who had been doing menial service, and who was assisting him in his mood also, and he was blessing him, so much so that he became the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this way the Braj Bhav came, and the Vipralamba Bhav came, and then of course Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was showing us how to love Krishna and how to feel separation, and he instructed his disciples to do that also, to write books and to explain all these transcendental bhavs. And Rupa Goswami has given in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or then even Ujjwal Nilamani. So we may study these books, and then in this way we may advance more and more and come to the highest stage of devotional service. Shilamari Vrindu Puri Padaki. So now we want to speak a few words about Parameshwar. His name was, so it is mentioned here Parameshwari, but his name was actually Parameshwar Das. So he was an associate of Mahaprabhu, and actually it is explained, what is it now? That he was an associate of Nityananda Prabhu. And so he was absorbed in serving Sri Nityananda Prabhu and of course Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so it is mentioned by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that simply by remembering his name, one will easily attain love of Krishna. Or we may just say Parameshwar Das Thakur. And just by saying Parameshwar Das Thakur ki, so we can get Krishna Prem. So of course for that we have to be qualified. Just like, for example, it is mentioned that if one is taking one-time bath in Radhakund, that one will get love of Krishna. So I think most of you have taken bath in Radhakund. So all of you have Krishna Prem now? It is not so easy. Yes, but we may if one is qualified. So similarly, simply by remembering the name of Parameshwar Das, we may get love of Krishna. By remembering any of the associates of Mahaprabhu actually, who all have love of Krishna. And if we become qualified, if we are begging for their mercy, crying for their mercy, then they may bestow their blessings upon us, and then we will surely get Krishna Prem. Maybe if you are not yet qualified, not right now, but very soon you will get Krishna Prem. Very soon, there's no doubt. So he was a very humble devotee, and so after Nityananda Prabhu left, he was serving actually Janavama, who became very prominent, and who was actually giving Krishna Prem to so many devotees, and she had disciples also, and she was giving solace to so many devotees after the disappearance of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. So he was serving her. And actually Janavama, she was sending one deity of Radharani to be put next to Govinda Dev in Jaipur, because actually the great-grandson of Krishna, Brajanab, he installed many deities of Krishna. But since he is a Dwarkavasi, so he was not thinking of Srimati Radharani. So then for many years the deities were there, worshipped, but without Radharani. But then after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, then because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to give Braj Bhakti, and he is not different from Radha and Krishna. And he came to give especially Unad Ujjwal Ras, Anarbita Charin Chirakayanavatino Kala, Samarpatam Unad Ujjwal Ras. So he came especially to give the Gopi Bhav, but of course only for those who are qualified, and we have to qualify in order to get that. So, but for that, it is of course that we worship both Radha and Krishna, not only Krishna. So, without the mercy of Srimati Radharani, ultimately we cannot satisfy Krishna completely. And he's most satisfied by the service of Srimati Radharani and those who are taking shelter of Srimati Radharani. Of course, the cowboys are there, and they are taking shelter of the Sudam, Sridam, Balaram, and they can also, of course, satisfy Krishna. But the highest, the adiras, the highest mood is the relationship between Radha and Krishna. So therefore, Janavama, who is also there, actually in Krishna Lila, as the wife of Balaram, and also she's there participating, and as an expanded form, they're also participating in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So it is mentioned that Parameshwar Das in Krishna Lila, he's a Gopal, he's a cowboy named as Arjun also. So we remember him and we pray for his mercy, so we may be able to have unalloyed love for Sisi Gonitai and also for Sisi Krishna Balaram, and especially the cowboys, those who are wanting to become sakhas, that will be manifested later if one is more advanced, then they may take shelter of Parameshwar Das and then of Arjun Sakha in order to be able to serve Krishna Balaram very nicely. Sri Parmeshwar Das Thakur ki. So also today is the appearance of Srinivas Acharya, a very great Vaishnav of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a pure devotee of the Lord. So his parents were also pure devotees, and they actually met, of course they were there with Mahaprabhu Navadvip, and so they had met him, and also when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas in Katwa, so when he left Mayapur and leaving his mother and his young wife Vishnupriya and all the devotees there behind, he went to Katwa to take sannyas, and so from Keshavar Bharati, was externally a Mayavadi, but taking part in the pastimes, we understand he's also an associate of the Lord. And so many devotees were there at that time, but from Mayapur only a few devotees were there who had heard that Mahaprabhu went there, so they were quickly going there also. Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda Datta, and I think Jagananda Pandit was there, and one more devotee, maybe Kashish, I can't remember who it was. So, but anyway, so the father and mother of Srinivas Acharya, and the father's name was Chaitanya Das, he was present there also. And his wife was there also. And she was actually pregnant at that time. And so it was a very transcendently sad situation because Mahaprabhu is so beautiful and he has very beautiful long hair. And then the barber was there and he was not ready to cut the hair. And he was telling, no, I cannot cut the hair, he told Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu told him, no, you have to cut the hair. I'm taking sannyas. But he was crying, no, I cannot do. So he was heartbroken, seeing the very beautiful form of Mahaprabhu and his very beautiful hair. And he was young, only just 24, just going to be 25 years old. And so many other devotees were there, and they were also all crying how he can take sannyas at his early age, but still he had to take sannyas. And then then he took sannyas, and at that time so they were there, and then they heard that he was going to Puri. So Chaitanya Das and his wife went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Puri. And at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told to Chaitanya Das that very soon your wife will give birth, and he will be known, and you should call him Srinivas. Through Srinivas, so actually the Bhakti Shastras of Rup Sanatan will be distributed. So he was telling him that he will be empowered. So being directly empowered by Mahaprabhu, he became an exalted devotee. Of course, he's an eternal associate, that we also understand. So when his father left this world, Srinivas Acharya, he was visiting Katwa, Navadvip, Jagannath Puri, and he was taking the blessings of all the Vaishnavas associates of Mahaprabhu who are still alive. And of course they all blessed him and gave him some instructions also. And so therefore it is said that he was the embodiment of Gaura Shakti, of the potency of Mahaprabhu, the energy of Mahaprabhu. And then he came to Vrindavan, and he was doing Braj Mandal Parikrama, and then he took initiation also from Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And we will speak also about Gopal Bhatta Goswami a little bit also, because today is the appearance day of Radharaman, manifested on this day. So he took initiation from him. But at the same time, he took Shiksha from Jiva Goswami, because Jiva Goswami was actually known as the greatest scholar. Of course, he was humble, and he took also shelter of Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, but they were all older, and so they, even many of them, they asked their disciples to go to Jiva Goswami to take instructions, to learn the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta philosophy. And then so therefore, so he was under the shelter of both his Diksha Guru Gopal Bhatta Goswami and also his Shiksha Guru Jiva Goswami. And seeing that he was such an exalted personality and he quickly learned everything, Jiva Goswami gave him the title Acharya. So he was known then as Srinivas Acharya. So Acharya means one who has absorbed the teachings of the previous Acharyas and is living according to that. So he was the perfect Acharya. And then by the order of Jiva Goswami, Srinivas Acharya and his two friends, Shamananda Prabhu and Narottam Das Thakur, they were going to preach Krishna consciousness all over Bengal, Orissa, and also Assam and Manipur. So he ordered these three devotees to go there and so to distribute books. So that was the first Sankirtan party after Mahaprabhu. So this appearance, so they started the Sankirtan, because Mahaprabhu started the Sankirtan movement, but the transcendental book distribution was started by, under the order of Jiva Goswami, by Srinivas Acharya, Shamananda Prabhu and Narottam Das Thakur. So on a bullock cart they were taking many books and to be copied also, and then to be distributed all over Orissa, Assam and Bengal. So on the way what happened, there was one king from I think the Birhampur. It is already in Bengal, right? Birhampur is in Bengal or is it in Orissa? I can't remember. But it was on the way. So the king then, he had an astrologer, and what he was doing, this king, he was actually attacking the wealthy persons who were traveling and robbing them of all their wealth. So the astrologer, he was looking when somebody will come. According to astrology, you can learn many things, but that should not be misused, astrology. So even as Vaishnavas, we may use astrology, but we don't depend on astrology. We depend on Krishna always. But it is sometimes useful to see, for example, the compatibility of a boy and a girl for marriage, or even to choose a day, auspicious day, to do Griha Pravesh, entering of the house, or Namkaran Samskar, different Samskars. We choose an auspicious day. And we can learn some things from astrology, but we always depend on Krishna. And but they were misusing the astrology, and they were seeing when somebody will come with some wealth. So then the astrologer told the king that now there's some persons are just on the way passing through our region from Vrindavan, and they have great wealth with them. So then he told his man, okay, you take all their riches away. So then they were going, and then they saw the night time when they were resting. So they were taking everything away, all the books. And they woke up, Srinivas Acharya, Narottam, and Shamananda Prabhu, and they were crying, because for the Vaishnavas also, the books, it is mentioned for the Brahmanas, knowledge, that is the real wealth. The Brahmanas, they don't want any money, they don't need any money. No, because they know that Krishna will supply everything. But their wealth are the books, the Shastras, the scriptures. They have so many books in their house, in their rooms, the real Brahmana. The room is full of books, and they hardly have any money. They don't keep money, but they keep the books. So that is the real wealth of the Brahmanas or the Vaishnavas, the books, Shastra. And because they are speaking according to Shastra always, but in the Kali Yuga especially, we don't have such good memory, so we need a book, so we can refer to the books. And then with the help of Krishna, we may say something. And of course, Krishna is inspiring also, giving knowledge to the Brahmanas from within. because the absolute, they are absorbed in the Brahman, the absolute truth, and Krishna. So Krishna is there in the heart or Mahaprabhu, and they're giving knowledge also directly. But still, for reference also, they keep the books. And they are quoting from the books. So they were all crying because the books were gone. And they were ordered to distribute the books. Such a calamity. They were crying like anything. But then what to do? It happened. So then they decided amongst themselves that Shyamananda Prabhu, he was going to reach some preaching there, and then Narottam to Assam and Manipur. And so Srinivas said, I will stay back and I will try to get the books back. And so then somehow he also find out about this king, that he was plundering the people. So then he came to the place, and then he was engaged by the king because he was a Brahmana and he was qualified. And then and then somehow we find out also that the books are there, Srinivasacharya. And then so he was then giving discourse on the scriptures, and then he actually convinced the king to take up devotional service and to surrender to Krishna. And then he also, he surrendered to Srinivasacharya, and he became the disciple of Srinivasacharya. And then he returned the books, and then he changed his life, and he was not plundering anymore the pilgrims going by. And he became a devotee by the mercy of Srinivasacharya. So Srinivasacharya, a great devotee, and it is mentioned that many times as he was preaching, he was a great preacher. But he was doing bhajan also, so we should preach. So Goshtya Nandi, the preachers are there, we should preach. We should distribute books, we should do seva. But we should do bhajan also. Otherwise, what can we preach if we don't have realizations? So he was a preacher, he was distributing books, he was giving knowledge to others. But he was doing intense bhajan, chanting the holy names, remembering Mahaprabhu's pastimes or Radha Krishna's pastimes while chanting the holy names. So that is the perfection, while chanting the holy names, remembering Mahaprabhu or remembering Krishna. So one time he was absorbed in meditation, and then he was seeing Mahaprabhu and the associates. And then Mahaprabhu had a very beautiful garland. And then Mahaprabhu gave the garland to Srinivasacharya. So, and then his meditation broke, and then he was sitting there as Srinivasacharya, and he had this very beautiful garland, Vajantimala, made with 5 different kinds of flowers, very fragrant, and everyone was astonished. And one time as he was doing his bhajan, he was seeing Radha Krishna's pastimes, doing the Holy Leela. Holy Leela, very famous throwing of colors, as we know. Famous pastime is there of Radha Krishna, and in Braj still it is going on. It is every year the devotees are playing also, especially outsiders. So in his meditation he was there in the Leela, Holy Leela, and they were throwing color on each other, Krishna and the gopis, and he's there as a manjari, assisting Srimati Radharani, and she was then also covered with these colors, and then his meditation broke, and he, as Srinivasacharya, he was also colored with these colors. So such a great devotee he was. So his name is actually Mani Manjari. So we should pray to him so that we may be able to become fully absorbed in Gaur Lila and Krishna Lila on the highest stage of pure devotional service. Srinivasacharya ki. So there is one book also, Bhakti Ratnakar by Narahari Chakravarti, that is much more explained about Srinivasacharya and Shyamananda Prabhu and Narottam also, but we don't have time to say, to read more, because we should say a few things also about Radharaman. So the appearance of Radharaman is there, and so Abhishek will start very soon, in maybe 15 minutes or half an hour. So after the class, devotees may go there, or a little later it will go until 12 o'clock at least. they will bathe the deities with 500 liters of milk. They will also offer other items like Panchamrit or Panchagavya, but only in very small quantity in the beginning. And then after all the Goswamis, they will take part and they will bathe the deities for at least 3 hours. 500 liters of milk they will use for bathing Radharaman. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami, so the spiritual master of Srinivasacharya, one of the 6 Goswamis, we'll just describe in short because we don't have so much time. But so he was from South India, Sri Rangam. He was the son of Venkat Bhatta, and his uncle was Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, another great Vaishnav who wrote many very wonderful books, Vrindavan Mahamamrita, glorifying Vrindavan Dham, and also Radha Rasa Shuddhanidhi, so glorifying Srimati Radharani, Srinivas. So Srinivas, spiritual master, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, so he appeared there in Sri Rangam, South India, and Mahaprabhu went there during Chaturmas. Just before Chaturmas, he arrived there and he decided to spend 4 months there during Chaturmas in Sri Rangam. Because previously the sannyasis were not traveling during Chaturmas because it is raining, and also because they wanted to do more intense bhajan. Because while preaching, sometimes meeting materialistic persons, one may be to some extent influenced by that. Some slight contamination may be there. Of course, the pure devotees are never contaminated, but as sadhakas, so therefore the sannyasis, they were then only staying in one place during 4 months and doing more bhajan and not meeting ordinary people, only being amongst themselves and giving some instructions to their disciples. So Mahaprabhu, he stayed there for 4 months discussing Bhakti Shastras with Venkat Bhatta and Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, who are worshipping actually Lakshmi Narayan or Sitaram, but by the influence of Mahaprabhu, they became also worshippers of Radha Krishna. And they took shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami as a son, he took shelter of Mahaprabhu, and he wanted to follow Mahaprabhu, but then Mahaprabhu told him, no, you stay at home and you serve your parents till they leave the body. Only after leaving the body, then you may come to see me. You may go to Vrindavan. So after they left, he went to Vrindavan and he was doing bhajan here. But then one time he had the desire to worship some chilas, and then he went to Gandaki river, Nepal, and he got some chilas there. He was taking bath, and then then suddenly he saw in the bucket there were some chilas, and then he thought, what shall I do with the chilas? He put them back in the water. Again he put the bucket inside so he could take some water and then bathe him, take a bath with the lota, and again chilas were in there. It happened 3 times, and then he decided this must be the will of the Lord. And he took the shilas, there were 12 shilas, and he came back here and he was worshipping them, going to take bath in the Jamuna and taking the shilas in a bucket in a very simple way. So but then one time then he was seeing that all the other Goswamis, they are worshipping deities, like Jiv Goswami was worshipping Radha Damodar, which was carved by Rup Goswami's own hand. Rup Goswami worshipping Radha Govinda Dev, Sanat Goswami worshipping Madan Mohan. So he was thinking, I would like to also worship a personal form of the Lord. And that was actually yesterday on Nishinga Chaturdasi. So Nishingadev is very merciful also. He may fulfill all desires. And so he was doing Nishinga Chaturdasi Vrat and desiring in such a way. And then on that day one person came to him also giving him some dress and a flute, and he was thinking, oh wonderful. And then the next morning one of his Shila, known as a Damodar Shila, manifested